season, visiting the 2-2 Atlanta Falcons, coming off a bye week and looking to win consecutive games for the first time with Michael Penix Jr. as their quarterback. And then we head to our nation's capital, meeting of the top two players taken in the 2024 draft. Caleb Williams and the Bears visiting Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Bears have won 2 straight coming off a bye. Commanders have won 5 in a row at home. And we begin NFL Live with some breaking news. Adam Schefter with us right off the top. Shefty, what can you tell us?
Hannah, the Tennessee Titans have become the first NFL team this season to fire their head coach, Brian Callahan. He went 4-19 in 2 seasons. The team struggled. It struggled to protect its #1 overall pick, Cam Ward. It won 1 game in Arizona. Everybody remembers that game from last week when Amari DiMercato fumbled the touchdown into a touchback. And now the Titans have fired Brian Callahan. We're waiting to see who they decide to appoint as the interim head coach. A couple of candidates on staff that would make sense. Mike McCoy, formerly the head coach of the Chargers. John Fossil, who served in an interim role before. We'll see what direction they go, but they better figure it out quickly because this weekend, one of the coaches that the Titans already fired, Mike Vrabel, is leading the Patriots back into Tennessee to face the Titans.
How ironic is that? Thanks, Adam. We'll get back to you shortly. Listen, we have so much to get to. We have the crew to do. We have J-Mac. We have Field Yates here. Dan Orlovsky's in Atlanta to call the game tonight. Mina Kimes is with us. Dan, let me start with you. What's your reaction to this news?
Yeah, the first call I would make if I was Tennessee would be to a guy who's going to be coaching on the field tonight. Behind me is Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. The second call I would make is Mike McCarthy, then Vance Joseph. I'd call Arthur Smith, who's doing a great job in Pittsburgh, and Jesse Minter as the defensive coordinator of the Chargers. Those would be the first 5 on my list. You have to have somebody that has at least a vision of what is next for Cam Ward. It's going to be very much so dependent on trying to get him to play up to his best possibility. The reality is, yes, this is a results-based business, but there's also an improvement that was needed in Tennessee. That did not happen. There wasn't, at least on tape, didn't see to be on a ton of buy-in from some players when it came to come to what Brian Callahan was preaching, and they obviously did not win. So it's a new start. They got to build some at least continuity in Tennessee. They fired a lot of people in the last 5 or 6 years, but those names that I mentioned would be my first calls for Cam Ward and the Titans' future.
Yeah, you hate this mid-season for Cam Ward, rookie quarterback. Having that kind of change is never a good thing, but it's also not surprising. Callahan, there's the win-loss record, but he was brought in to fix the offense coming from Cincinnati, and the offense has been an abject disaster this year. They rank last in just about every meaningful category, but the one that really jumped out to me, they're averaging under 4 yards per play on offense. To put that in perspective, there has not been a single NFL team in the last 20 years over the course of a season that's averaged under 4 yards per play. I know it's week 6, but things haven't been trending in the right direction. On top of that, there's been issues with clock management. I think back to the end of the first half versus the Colts, the field goal fiasco, admissions about not knowing the rules, you remember, with the catch. And all told, this is not entirely surprising, even if you do worry about what it means for Cam Ward's development this year.
Yeah, it seems to be the norm. 17 out of the last 39 quarterbacks drafted since 2016. Head coach has been fired in either the first year or following the first year. So when you look at that, that seems to be what Cam Ward's going to go through and what so many other guys like him have gone through as first-round draft picks. I look at this situation for the Tennessee Titans, and Dan hit on what's the future for them when they start interviewing who's going to be the permanent head coach. But for right now, they have the New England Patriots coming into town Sunday. Mike Vrabel was there, had a lot of success, was coach of the year. I got to assume they're maybe looking at this situation and saying, hey, maybe we get a little bump from an interim head coach letting go of Callahan as Vrabel's coming into town. And if they're going to let go of him maybe after, you don't want to give him that satisfaction. I don't know exactly why right now in this instance, maybe just to move on and see what's next. But hey, for Cam Ward, it is a long road ahead now.
They're going to need that interim head coach to be able to cover pass catchers with the way that Drake May is playing right now. Because his Patriots offense is certainly finding its rhythm, at least in the passing game. It's the perfect storm here for Brian Callahan. I think there are people that closely monitor this team that think this might even be a few weeks too late. 4 wins and 23 efforts. The only win this season, frankly, was a game that the Cardinals lost. The Titans won that game, but Arizona really handed it to them as well. On top of that, I felt like at some point a change was coming when I heard their best player, Jeffrey Simmons, yesterday after the game talking about how Thursday was their worst practice perhaps of the entire season. The team finally getting a little bit of momentum after a win, maybe feeling slightly better about itself, and then your best player basically saying the tone was set on Thursday in a negative way. Not a surprise. I guess these are always a little bit surprising given the timing, but at some point this change was coming, Dano.
Yeah, so let's be honest about the Tennessee Titans, though, okay? I don't know their ownership group, and there's a lot of respect, obviously, but their ownership in the last 4 or 5 years, babyface, you know this, has fired a general manager, and then hired a new general manager, and then fired a coach, and fired that coach, and fired that general manager, now hired a new general manager, and hired a new coach, and fired the coach. There's no continuity within the organization when it comes to top-down leadership, and so Tennessee, new stadium, super talented quarterback, new general manager comes from Kansas City in the recent past year. You've got to make sure that you get these choices right of general manager, head coach, and the people around the quarterback to build long-term success. This can't just be let's hire and fire every 2 years, because you're not going to win that way. You're not going to get your young quarterback to play well that way.
And let's give you the list of names that you're talking about there, Dan. They fired General Manager John Robinson, who had collected a tremendous collection of talent there in Tennessee. Then they fired Mike Vrabel, who obviously has gone on to have the success that he's had here in New England. Then they fired Rand Carthen, who did a nice job there and was one of the bright young minds in the NFL. And now they fired Brian Callahan. So they've gone through an awful lot of people in Tennessee. You mentioned the new stadium coming. That could be a part of it. But the fact of the matter is there were a number of gaffes this season. I think people across the league thought the Titans would be patient to the end of the year, but obviously the owner did not want to do that.
The last 4 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall, and 6 of the last 8 have now seen their head coach fired during their rookie season.
Have fired Coach Brian Callahan after a 1-5 start to the season and a 4-15 mark over the last 2 years. Tennessee's number 1 overall draft pick, Cam Ward, has struggled, posting the worst QBR of any qualified quarterback in the league. Team president Chad Brinker said the team has not shown sufficient growth. So, in 2 seasons under Callahan, the Titans have left a lot to be desired. Tennessee in last in yards per game, and tied for the lowest win percentage in the entire league. Their 44 turnovers, by the way, the most in that span with their opponents, 27 points per game, the 30th in the NFL.
This continues to be Coach Center because Bill Belichick spoke for the first time today after reports that he was talking buyout in North Carolina.
Right off the bat, like some of the reports out last week about my looking for a buyout and trying to leave here and all that. It's just categorically false. There's zero truth to any of that. Glad I'm here. We're working towards our goals and the process. We just believe very much in the process. Kind of like Bill Walsh said, the score will take care of itself. And I've always believed that. You just got to keep working and grinding away, and that's exactly what we're doing.
North Carolina coming out of the bye week this week. I will tell you, I have no idea what to believe anymore.
Why? Because they're saying
I just don't.
It's just conflicting reports. Pretty show, by the way, Bill Belichick.
I just don't believe anything. Like if he was looking to do it, they wouldn't say it now. They'd like to keep the rest of the season since he has been the head coach, which he was fired this morning.
All right, we have 2 Monday Night Football games for you tonight. Josh Allen and the Bills take on Bijan Robinson and the Falcons at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. And Jaden Daniels and the Commanders host Caleb Williams and the Bears at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC. They're also available on the all-new ESPN app, so you can watch both starting at 8 p.m. As we're joined now by Bears reporter Courtney Cronin. So, Courtney, what are the Bears saying as they get ready for the Commanders tonight?
Obviously, Christine, the Hail Mary still lingers over this matchup. It's been talked about on just about every show on this network. And players said he will not celebrate until the clock hits double zeros. And for Caleb Williams, this is another homecoming for him. He gets to go back to the D.C. area where he's from. The sting of last year's loss, not just the way they lost, but the fact that it happened in front of family and friends, lingers a little bit more with Williams. But the fact that this team is coming off a bye week, they are not typically a great football team. Coming off the break, that is something that's more motivation for them to flip the script on than the Hail Mary from a year ago.
I would imagine that Stevenson dancing and celebrating in the end zone before the game was over was a lesson for literally everybody, so I'm glad that he's learned from it. Coming out of their bye week, what are you hearing about Caleb Williams' progression in the Bears offense?
So I asked Williams about his bye-week self-scout, and he told me that in looking at the 4-game sample size, there's not necessarily anything he knows out that game. That is flipping the script on what happened a year ago in so many one-score matchups. What Ben Johnson wants to see from a unit, he says, is still a work in progress, cleaning up the penalties. They've been flagged 40 times, 6 of which have been declined, but they know that's not a sustainable way to play throughout the season.
All right, we'll see if they're able to clean those things up tonight as they take on the Commanders. Courtney Cronin, thank you so much.
Damian Woody, betting analyst Joe Fortenbar, going to be with us now. And Damian, what is the matchup you are keeping an eye on in this one between the Bears and Commanders?
I'm looking at Jaden Daniels and how this Bears front is going to contain him. We know that's a big part of this Washington Commanders attack.